I'm very glad we did it, and I'm very glad it's over.
What's up, Disgenerates? It's the Disc Golf World. I'm Jefferson here to glaze MVP for the second off-season video in a row. So for all you mad since I won't bag Gyro, maybe this will convince you to subscribe. Possibly even check out our fall merch drop. Link is in the description below. If anyone is looking for more disc golf content during the winter, make sure to check out the Crush Pepper podcast hosted by Eagle McMahon, Joey Tamale, and the reason you're watching this video, Simon Lizotte. Throughout the season, they've been recapping their tournaments along with great conversations, oftentimes about toe socks. In the latest episode, Simon drops some news for the 2026 season, Joey gives us his DGPT hot take, and we get an insight behind MVP marketing. That's my best effort in getting you all to stay after we talk about what Simon is done doing for next season that I know will upset some of you.
There's two ways you can look at a funeral, and I think I want to celebrate what happened. And what happened is that you created an insane amount of content for the diehard Lizotte fans, and they got an absolute treat for an entire disc golf season.
I'm very glad we did it, and I'm very glad it's over.
Yeah. But shout out to you for doing it, and shout out to Dustin for all the amazing work. I'm happy that it happened.
Yeah, me too.
It's going to be... You can get very nostalgic looking back.
And now we can remember
Like those were the good old days.
After GMC and the announcement of no more tournament recaps, most of us could see the end of weekly vlogs approaching soon. As a diehard Lizotte fan, I'll be the first to say what was accomplished over 2025 was incredibly impressive. I understand the long days of recording and hours of editing into the early mornings only to do it again the next day. The grind was real for both Simon and Dustin, but forever there will be a catalog not only for future fans, but also a time capsule for the next generation Lizottes. To this very day, I'll throw on the McBeast Diaries to nostalgia bomb my brain to remember the good old days. This ties into Joey's hot take of the Pro Tour, but I want to get to the other news about Simon out the way since I know most of you are about to tune out.
I think for some people it's helpful to have someone to vent to and kind of say whatever they need to say to, and that helps them get out of it. And for others, it makes it worse to have someone to complain to, because then you do it. And you kind of
then they think it's their fault.
Well, and then there's a whole different dynamic with what can go on in your mind about pulling someone else down with you, and you're not alone.
Think it's their fault,
and they think it's their fault, and then you feel bad for them, and then you don't want to be there for multiple reasons. I have definitely learned this year that I am someone who cannot have a caddy ever.
It might suck that the Simon content will slow down next year, but as a fan, I'm not mad that he can put full attention into his offseason. He even mentioned that in one of his recent videos.
Is that I actually think it's going to make me a significantly better disc golfer, because if you have the power to just walk out of your back door onto a little course, I mean, that's how champions are made, right? I really hope I can make it a routine to just come out here, throw for 30 minutes, because I think that makes a big difference. Because when I'm home, usually I don't play at all, ever.
It's important to remember he was still 16th in the standings this past year. Imagine getting a fully dialed in Lizotte for 2026. All right, now let's hear what Joey has to say.
This is my hot take. I wish that creatively the Pro Tour would focus less on, or they would broaden their athlete focus in the content world, because right now I think that the top 10 or even 5 FPO and the top 15 MPO players on tour right now are extremely oversaturated with content, and not only on the fan side of watching, but also on the athlete side of what they're being committed to. Let's say the difference between Paul Macbeth versus Paul Kranz in the amount of opportunities for content, for tournaments, for match play, feature cards, all-star events, press conferences that they are given is insanely different, and they're both in the Tour Championship. And I think that it would benefit not only the players who are smaller who need the content and need those opportunities, not only to grow their brand, but sometimes literally to survive out there. It would help those players, but it would also like decrease the amount that is expected of top players, and give them more time to actually focus on competing instead of like having 5 things to do every week when they show up. That's my hot take.
I totally agree that there needs to be more attention on other players. I feel the DGPT should step up and focus on other athletes in order to create narratives. How about instead of throwing them on feature card, have a person from production build a minute-long pre-recorded segment that can fill in time? Take a local pro, someone who won in the past, or I don't really care, and have them break down the course, what makes it special, and then add some flair about how they want to come out and win. This might be for the 1%ers out there, but look at what Real American Freestyle is doing, or just look at what the UFC does. They sit down with athletes, cut up a promo, and showcase them to the public. Let players tell their story and have your media team polish it up. I don't know who needs to hear this, but a 3-hour press conference is not cutting it. Not so great questions, followed up by a word salad response, and nobody's got time for that. I'm allowed to bitch, because I've made 15 press conference videos and all but 3 had more views than the real thing. I'm saying that because the solution from the DGPT was to not do them in 2025, besides during the meaningful events. Basically taking away some players' only opportunity to get coverage. Then again, they pick the same people on repeat like Joey was saying.
I think you're always going to have... The top players are always going to be the busiest, but I do see what you're saying.
I think it's
like
if you look at golf or
spreading out
tennis,
a little bit.
And I think it starts with feature cards. I think it starts with this match play opportunities. Those are like 2 big things, in my opinion.
Eagle's not wrong, and it would be foolish not to market the popular players. It's the same reason this video was titled the way it is. You gotta give people a reason to watch, but then surprise them with all the additional information they get. Also, the whole promo idea, yeah, they did that before.
Jomez did it. Do they still do the player profiles like they used to? Because those were sick. Those were really cool.
Those were fun.
Those are really good brand building opportunities.
I don't know why I'm thinking of it, but...
Remember the Jomez player profiles that told the story about an individual? And they totally could still be doing this, but I don't watch Jomez anymore like many other live viewers. The last time I can recall was when Brody Smith made the final day lead card in 2022 at DDO.
My name is Brody Smith. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, and I've been playing disc golf just over 2 years. So I first started throwing Frisbees back in high school. We played Ultimate Frisbee after cross-country practice, like once a month.
Those exact type of videos should be playing during live. Not only that, but posted as standalone videos. That has a way better chance of falling into the algorithm into new eyes. That's what would make a non-disc golfer interested in the sport. Not an hour-long coverage of 9 holes without any context of who these people are. That's not it either, because recently on the Grip Locked podcast, Connor was expressing becoming a new fan of Calvin Heimberg. Why, you ask?
I became a Calvin fan from watching this, and the reason being, I wasn't really a hard rooting for Calvin person in the past just because I like personality, and there's not much of it going around with Calvin. He's just not a very expressive person, which is fine. It's just I like to root for people who seem like they have a good personality. Well, it turns out he's just a very respectful, awesome competitor, because I loved watching his interview at the end. Yeah. Because I feel like he really respectfully worded the fact that he...
Crazy take if you've never watched him in a skins match, which had me thinking, there are thousands of disc golf fans who will only watch live or post-produced. No extra stuff, so they would never experience a smart-ass Vinny that so many of us learned to love. Now, if you don't see the other side of Calvin, imagine how many other players you'll never even know. That's a problem. I'm not going to pretend to know the solution, but I think there needs to be a better one than telling pros they need to post more on Instagram to get a contract. Reminds me, Joey dropped this line, and I can't tell if I'm reading into it or not.
It was like absolutely a season to remember with our group, and I already know that it probably won't quite ever look like that again, and that's why I'm happy that it happened.
I really don't know if he's referring to the amount of players that won't be on tour next year, or just their core group is separating. I'm not here to bum you out though, so let's glaze MVP once again. The Crushed Pepper podcast featured a special guest for the first time.
90% of the content that you see on social media has been across the desk or computer of Mr. Davis. He edits this podcast. He runs the Instagram account. He started the Instagram account. We're going to get all into it.
Found the game in college, ripped his Cobra every few months, took a brief hiatus while becoming a rock star, but in 2014, Will Davis III picked up a first-run Volt because of the color combo. Like a true disc golfer, went to post a picture of it, but realized MVP didn't have social media. He then created it himself and told this to Brad and Chad.
That, hey, pay me, $1 million. I'm just kidding. I just told him, like, I can run this as a fan site for now, or, just let me know what you want to do with it. And it took him a little while to reply, but I'd like posted, just photos and stuff on there. Brad ended up direct messaging me and saying, like, hey, thanks for doing that. If you can keep doing that, we'll put you on the tester team and, send you the new releases and stuff like that.
And that, folks, is how you get disc golfers to do work for free. Although, that was enough for Will to start getting more active in the community. That led him to being a part of the MVP family for the past decade. You might not have heard the name, but he's been behind the scenes for majority of the come up. Every piece of content at MVP goes through him, and most importantly, he edits the Crushed Pepper podcast. This is where I'm going to turn into a Krispy Kreme and glaze over MVP for a second, because they are the only company that does exactly what I advocate for. Nearly every event, they have a videographer on site capturing players' rounds for social media. They fully produce practice rounds that feature different people and even edit a damn podcast. Tell me a brand that is doing more for their players, and I'll wait. Somewhere along the way, social media became a requirement for professionals, and it's impacted so many. At MVP, that was never the focus. When has James Conrad ever had to learn Twitter? Never. It was definitely a smart move of them signing players who post content already, but even so, they're posting less without any repercussions. The whole Gyropalooza was an event to showcase their players and be noticed. Obviously to make fat cash too, but if you're helping the players, I'm not going to hate. MVP is just as grassroots as any other company, and from an outside perspective, take care of their players better than any other brand. I can't believe I'm saying this, but drop suggestions on what MVP disc I should try out so I can see what the hype is all really about. And that's all I got for you today. Huge shout out to the Crushed Pepper podcast for giving me something to talk about. Every week, I'm just praying there's something I can talk about. And hopefully I have a video out for you next week. But you're not going to want to miss out on the Spit Out podcast coming at you tomorrow, where Swiss and I go through our ballot for the 2025 DGPT Awards. Yep, if you haven't heard, we actually get to vote this year. So make sure to subscribe to not miss out on that tomorrow.